How often did it happen that you get a no from a person when you ask them about something? Well, it turns out that it happens all the time, and there is a reason for this. The reason is it's more natural for people to say no. And the reason why this is more natural is because no brings no commitment. If you say yes to something, this makes you on the hook. This makes you committed. And if things go wrong, you're the one to get some of the blame. Getting people to say yes is difficult. Yet, in this video, I'm going to explain to you how you can get people to say yes. There are some strategies that I would like to share with you, which I've personally used throughout the years, which manage to convince people I communicate with. The first thing you should understand is that people naturally tend to say no. This is the first reaction, especially to new things. When you would like to propose something new, people would be resistant to change. This is human nature. So the first immediate answer to things would be a no. So how do you take that no? If somebody says no to you, this may close the communication channel. This may put you off from pursuing this communication or trying to convince people to actually say yes. And if somebody says no, then they feel almost obliged to follow through, to continue to saying no. So this actually increases the barriers, this increases the resistance, and they feel it's important for them to continue, otherwise they may come across as indecisive people. So the first thing you should do is actually to get the person to say no in a strategic way. So rather than asking them, can I do this, and waiting for a yes, you could actually present the case in a more different way. Imagine a person knocking on their boss's door and asking for a raise. The very first thing the boss can say is no. However, if this employee kind of tweaks the communication in a way, they can get a strategic no. For example, that employee may ask the boss the following question. Hey boss, do you want me to fail? And of course, this question would get the person off guard, and they'll say, of course not. And no is very easy to say, so this is the very first thing you would hear. And then they would ask you to elaborate. And then you can say, if you don't want me to fail, then why don't you let me put more time into this specific aspect of the work? Why don't you allocate more resources so that I can attend some training? Why don't you try to secure more of my time and therefore increase my salary? Any of those follow-ups make the no that you got at the beginning very strategic, something that you can use to back up your arguments later on. And then you can proceed in presenting that potential no, another no to your demand as something of a very high cost. You can pretend that you go ahead with not doing something, and this will end up generating higher cost for the organization versus the yes. And of course, any sort of change that you propose to the organization is risky. To be honest, sometimes it's natural and normal for people to say no because this is the more meaningful thing. They assume that we should not change something that has been working so far quite successfully. And if you propose a new alternative to it, then you should present not doing that change as more risky or potentially more expensive than initiating the change. So this is a very important thing to do, and it's also very important for you to develop the argument that it's urgent, that you decide now or you act now. Otherwise, all your competitors may kind of jump on this bandwagon and you no longer be a differentiator with this new initiative that you're proposing, for example. So building the case of urgency is very important because then it makes the likelihood of your idea being shot down much more unlikely. Because if you just suggest that you would like to pursue this new venture within the organization or this new activity, but this is not urgent, then this would be forgotten and other people may jump on and find some sort of limitations and argue why this idea is not necessarily the best idea for the organization or the time. They may say that's not the best time, we've already allocated budgets, so we should end the fiscal year before we come up with new budgets for new initiatives. Therefore, you need to do your best to present the case as if it's something urgent. Another thing you should do is to then convey the decision makers that it's not that difficult to start this new initiative because it's somehow related to what the company has already been doing, and therefore the perceived cost of transitioning to this new initiative would be much smaller than anticipated. Last but not least, you should present yourself as a credible individual, a person who has the expertise. People who can lead the change are more likely to secure a yes or an approval from the organization. So you can become the change agent within the organization as long as you're motivated, as long as you know how to communicate to the superiors within the organization, and as long as you have the credibility. Therefore, you should establish your credibility and you should present your credibility. For example, you may suggest that this situation or this phenomena that you have identified is somewhat similar to a case study that you've had in your MBA degree, for example, or in your education, even if it's not an MBA level education. And therefore, this makes you very interested in this specific challenge or this specific phenomena because you want to make sure that your company does not end up in the same negative kind of side of events as the company within the case study that you have learned. So ultimately, you present the situation as potentially very costly to the organization unless they take action. And this is one way to get a yes. Remember, the first thing is to get a strategic no, then present a follow-up no as a very expensive option. You present the yes as a very cheap, feasible, and strategic option, and you present yourself as a credible expert who can become the change agent within that organization. So I hope you found this useful. I hope you give it a try and let me know in the comment section how it worked. Or perhaps you have experience with getting people to say yes. Please share with us down in the comment section. I read all of these comments and I answer every single one of them. This is everything from me for now. Let's catch up in the next video. Peace out.